So today we're discussing how much house can you afford by salary in this housing crisis. For this video, I've chosen the following personas, namely person making $60,000, $80,000, and then $100,000 a year, because that covers the broadest spectrum of income levels. Now, I have also chosen the DC, Maryland, Virginia areas as the subject properties. What's different about this video is that I will give you investor tips on how to navigate this market so you don't feel lost or misinformed. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is AK. I'm an entrepreneur and a real estate investor. I build affordable housing for low-income families, among many other things. The goal of this channel is to create wealth quickly while investing wisely. Just a few years ago, the rates were at 3%, and now it's at 7.8% for a 30-year mortgage. The mortgage payments have gone from $1,621 in 2020 to now $2,823 on average because of the rate gaps. And that is shocking because that's almost 1.75% than a few years ago when the rates were at 3%. Not only the mortgage rates, the price of rents have also gone up. The median rent went slightly up from $1,196 to $1,181. That is an 8% increase. Now the rents are about to go up even higher according to a recent article by CNBC by as much as 5 to 8%. Now some of you know where I'm going with this, right? Even moving from a city like Washington DC to maybe a place like Maryland can save several $100s a month every single month. So if you live in these big expensive cities like Washington DC, you may want to think about and consider moving to other towns if your job or business allows that flexibility. So let's run through some numbers. Let's say if you're making $60,000 and you put down $50,000 as a down payment, standard 30-year mortgage, you can afford a loan of $232,700. With $80,000, it goes up to $298,000. And if you make $100,000, you can afford a house of $358,000, given that you're all making the same amount of down payment, and the mortgage rate being 7.8 or 7%. Now let's also look at a 15-year mortgage for the same type of income levels. So if you make $100,000, you can afford a $333,800 house instead of $358,000 mortgage. If you make $80,000, you're at $272 instead of $298, and so on and so forth. Now these numbers are based on having a perfect credit of over 710 plus. If your credit unfortunately is less than perfect, then you'll be paying a higher mortgage rate, subsequently a higher mortgage payment every month. It's called the high cost of low credit, which I should do a video on. So if you're making $100,000 and your credit is less than perfect, let's say your credit is 670, you can only afford in that scenario a $346,000 mortgage versus a $358,000. Now let's compare a typical mortgage in these cities next to the rents in these cities so we can see what's going on with the rent versus mortgage differences. Because let's be honest, in these times, if I was buying a house, renting may be a high possibility. So let's look at the rents amount versus the mortgage amount. So the mortgage on $60,000 is $1,752 in this region, with the rent in the same area is $2,070. You'll have a $2,231 mortgage, rent being the same at $2,070, and so on and so forth. So you might ask the logical question, if I had purchased a house a few years ago, what would my payment be in the same scenario? And I have those numbers for you. At $60,000, you'll be making $1,203 mortgage payment. At $80,000, you'll be making a $1,479 mortgage payment. And at $100,000, you'll be making $1,735 mortgage payment. So almost a $400 difference compared to when the rates were at 3% versus now at 7.6%. Now keep in mind, you also are supposed to have 38% savings to cover the next 6 months of your mortgage to be able to afford this house, in addition to the $50,000 down payment that we just talked about. The mortgage can only be up to 28% of your gross income, and your total expenses, mortgage plus personal expenses, should not exceed beyond 36%. Now that's a general rule, but I've seen people spend as much as 50% of their income on housing, and that happens as well. So in simple words, that means that if you want to buy a house, let's say you're earning $100,000 and you get a loan for $358,000, you should have at least $14,000 in the bank as savings to cover the next 6 months of mortgage, plus your medical, your car, groceries, and other essential needs. So now you might ask, AK, if I want to lower my mortgage payment, what are some of the tips and tricks? And I'm going to share that with you Folks, if you don't care about these big cities, these high-end stores, these celebrity chefs, these designer stores, then there are some neighboring cities which you may want to consider moving to. And I'm not saying thousands of miles away, I'm just saying a few hundred miles away can make a huge difference in terms of how much you save. For example, North and South Carolina being a viable option for people living in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So let's look at the numbers and see how much house can you get in these areas, right? So for example, for $350,000 in South Carolina, which is 2,387 square feet for that price. Now, if you were to move to North Carolina, let's say Charlotte somewhere, you may get a bit of a smaller house for 1,800 square feet. So guess how much house can you get for the same price in Virginia? One of them is Sterling, Virginia, where you can barely get a 1,400 square feet, 1 or 2 bedroom condo, which is way outside the city limits. If you want to move closer to the city, for example, in Fairfax, the cost goes even higher for the same price, a 2-bedroom, a 2-bath, possibly a condo with an HOA fees. So which cities are more affordable these days? Please see a list down below. So here are some investor tips for you guys. First, consider moving to a neighboring town or a city, moving farther away from these expensive cities and downtowns. Secondly, always pay your taxes separately. And this is a mistake that everybody makes. Your lender's goal is to make sure to take as much escrow as possible to keep money, your money, in their pockets. They will have thousands of dollars stored in escrow just to pay your taxes. Your goal is to tell them, look, I just want you to charge me principal and interest every month. By doing that, you'll keep more money in your pocket and you'll save a lot of money in the long run. Now also keep in mind, if you put down less than 20%, you may be hit with a PMI payment, but that PMI long term goes away if the value of your house goes above 20%. Now, one other tip that I must convey is that you should always, and I also do this myself, put at least $100 extra towards each mortgage payment, depending on how many properties you have. By doing that, you can literally save hundreds of thousands of dollars in your mortgage interest. So you must always think long term. Now, similarly, another tip is to always go for a 15-year mortgage. Why is that? Again, 15 years saves you a ton of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars over a period of time compared to a 30-year loan. So in essence, you're paying more now for a better future tomorrow. Now, if you'd rather not buy in this market, which would be the wiser thing to do, I would definitely put the money somewhere in a high yield account, such as potential dividends, mutual funds, or even buying gold and silver. Now, I have received many offers from Chase and Bank of America and other banks on moving my money around to their banks to give me a high interest account with cash incentives. And I have a video on the same topic where I show you examples of which banks are offering these incentives just to move $20,000 to $30,000 in their account. Now, I hope this was helpful for you guys. Please drop me a comment. Let me know if you like the content. Please support our small channel. Folks, this video makes me a bit sad because I came to this country 20 years ago. And at that time, the housing affordability wasn't as bad as it is right now. So it's very shocking to me to see that the families in American families are hurting in this market. They're wasting money on rents when they could be having a mortgage on a house. But these are tough times. A recession is possibly coming and you need to be ready for that. Definitely advisable to keep some dry powder, keep some cash on hand, have some savings, have your money in an account or place where you can liquefy it if needed. Because guess what? The feds don't really care about you and your house buying, folks, right now. They've already done and made their money. Their goal is to just balance their sheets. That's the goal of the Federal Reserve. So you have to look out for yourself. And in this market, with the rates being high, I would not buy if I don't have to. I would wait it out. Well, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, give me a like and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video. Take care now. Bye.